Hello, Tech Pros. This is Chad Bostic, and I'm excited to introduce our featured guest today, Kris Reid. Happy Sunday, Kris.
Hey, Chad. Happy Sunday to you too.
Are you unplugged and ready to get unwound here on today's episode?
Well, man, on any Sunday in Cambodia, that's what we do.
Oh, every Sunday in Cambodia, that's what we do. Man, I'm going to have to get out to Cambodia.
Well, I mean, we work hard during the week, but it's nice to put your feet up on a Sunday.
Oh, absolutely, man. Well, Kris Reid is a computer geek and SEO superstar based in the Philippines and Cambodia. And that's all I got to say about that. I think that's the shortest intro that I've ever done here on the show, which I think is awesome and perfect for a Sunday Being Unplugged episode, because it's not all about, no offense, but it's not all about your accolades. It's not all about your business. It's not all about all that kind of stuff. So I'll tell you what, I'll let you have the opportunity to fill in the gap as much as you want with what is an SEO superstar and what are you guys doing out there in the Philippines and Cambodia?
Oh, sure. My name's Kris Reid. I'm originally from Brisbane, Australia, a computer engineer. Stumbled my way into the digital marketing world. Froze my ass off in Siberia, learning my craft. Then eventually got to the sweaty jungles of the Philippines, where it's a perfect place to really build a digital marketing business, as there's lots of skilled labor that speak excellent English, and it's a whole lot cheaper than any Western country. And then expanded and came to a different jungle of Cambodia.
That's awesome. So, man, you're a world traveler from Australia to Siberia to Philippines to Cambodia. You're just all over the world.
Yeah, I've actually lived in 9 countries now. So, yeah, I do get around.
That's awesome. All right. This is a perfect Being Unplugged episode for me personally. I don't know if the audience is going to like this one or not, but really, I'm going to be selfish here. And I'm going to use this opportunity to kind of springboard my traveling habits a little bit. And maybe you can help me out with that, just kind of in bits and pieces throughout. So to give you a little bit of background, Kris, if you don't know me, so I was born in Texas in the United States. I was raised in Oklahoma, which is about 200 miles away from where I was born. And I was there for 40 years. I've lived there all of my life, and just recently, within the last year and a half, I moved out to Florida to look for new job opportunities and stuff like that. But still, it's all kind of in the same country, which is awesome. Go USA, go America, right? We love America around here.
It's a big old country.
It's a big old country. It's a big dang old country around here. But I love traveling to new places, and I love just experiencing new cultures and seeing people in their own element. And I live here in Orlando, which is a very, very touristy town, and I get to see people from all over the world, which is amazing. And when I travel, I tend to travel to all the touristy places that you go to, right? So we've been to London and to Paris and to Barcelona and to Rome, and that was amazing, but it was still kind of like just all the highlight attractions, and I would love to see more of the world in just how the locals live. Like, what are the normal everyday, like, computer programmers doing, right? What are the normal everyday SEO superstars doing when they're in the Philippines and Cambodia, and not necessarily like the tourist hotspot? So maybe we can touch on a little bit of that here and there. But first, I want to ask you, man, what does being unplugged really mean to you?
It means a whole lot. I work really hard, have very long days, do a lot of research, have to make a gazillion decisions, and if I don't let my brain unwind and defrag, then it just would not be possible. So it means the world.
I love that phrase, let your brain defrag. That's awesome, because we get so cluttered with so many little bits of information and so many little tasks that we're working on. It's like my brain is scattered. It's like a hard drive that's completely thrashing and trashed because it can't figure out where it's going from one side to the next. So, okay, let's defrag, or let's prioritize. Let's get everything in order the way it should be, and life will be a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure. When I got a pretty high pressure job where a lot of people come to me, customers and staff, and they're constantly asking questions of how do you do this, or what should we do here? And you're just making decision after decision after decision, and it tires you out, So you get to the stage where it's lunchtime and you don't even want to make a decision on what I'm going to have for lunch.
Oh, no kidding. No kidding. I mean, I used to kind of get a little bit upset with my wife when I would get home, and I'd be like, hey, what do you want for dinner? And it wasn't from like, hey, what are you going to cook me, or what are you going to make for me? It's just like, what do you want to do? Do you want to eat in? Do you want to eat out? And she's like, I don't know. What do you want? And I'm like, look, my brain is fried. I cannot make a decision here. I need you to just tell me what we're going to do. Like, be the boss here for me, because I can't handle it. And then even at work, like you said, like going to lunch, I'd go to lunch with colleagues and some of my employees, and my employees would never want to make the decision because they didn't want to like offend the boss or whatever. And I'd have to like look them in the eye and say, listen, it doesn't matter. I will literally eat anything in this town. It's going to be fine. Any decision you make is the right decision. Not making a decision is the wrong decision, because if I have to make another decision, that's going to affect how I perform here in the office throughout the rest of the day. There's only so many decisions I can make. So I feel you, man.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's kind of important to have routines, like if you do the same thing every morning, it's not, if you have the same thing for breakfast every morning, there's no decision to be made. That's what we do.
That's a great concept of, what we only have the capacity for so many decisions. So in certain areas of your life, you just kind of take the decisions out of it ahead of time. Like you said, you have the same thing for breakfast. So like, give us an example. What do you have for breakfast consistently that helps you be unplugged earlier in the day?
So I get up at 5:30 every day. I go and do Ashtanga yoga at 6 o'clock. That usually takes about an hour and a half. It's the same sequence every day, the exact same thing. Then I go to a cafe and I sit down and have muesli and yogurt and a cappuccino. So it's the exact same morning every morning.
Okay, so I know absolutely nothing about yoga except for the scene that I saw in this movie called Couples Retreat, which is hilarious if you haven't seen it. It's Vince Vaughn and some of those other characters, and they you just have to see it. I don't want to spoil it for the audience, but it's a hilarious yoga scene. So what'd you call it? Ashtani yoga?
Ashtanga.
Ashtanga.
So that's just it's a sequence that you just repeat. It's longer and it continually gets harder. Like there's no end in sight. It just continually, you got the primary sequence and then the secondary sequence, and it just gets so hard that you'll bend your back in half. It's mental, but it's really challenging. Like you're lying in a pool of sweat when you finish.
And why is that part of your? I mean, that sounds miserable, to be honest with you. I mean, why do that every day? What's the benefit that you get out of it?
Well, it's very calming because it's all the same sequence. It's breathe in and move up one way, breathe out and move down another way. So it's all controlling your breath, controlling your mind, being present in the moment, not worrying about the future, not concerned with the past. It's just being in the moment and focusing, right?
Okay, cool. I have heard so many positive things about yoga. Like it helps your brain just kind of, like you said earlier, like defrag, it helps your brain just kind of relax and let go of all the tension, right? And it also helps your body with flexibility and strength and stuff like that too. But it's more of like a brain exercise of focusing on
it's certainly very physically demanding, but it's really bringing your mind with your body too and keeping you in the moment. Like so often you're driving somewhere and you're worried about your next meeting or what's going to happen tomorrow, or how you're going to pay the electricity bill, or whatever. And it's really to focus that you're here and present at the moment, and this is all that matters.
Cool. And so how does that like affect you the rest of the day? Like, have you had situations where you've missed it, right? You've been traveling or you get busy, or you didn't feel like it that day, and so you missed your yoga session. Like, how did that affect you?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a lot like any other form of meditation. It really gets your mind ready. It's lots of oxygen in your blood, so it energizes you as well. So like, then when I have breakfast, I plan out my day, my work day of what I'm going to do. And so it energizes me, and then my brain's like fortified of ready to go. And, I have to put my planned together during breakfast. It's it's lunchtime. By lunchtime, I've done like 2 days work. It's awesome.
That's awesome. Well, we're gonna have to bring you back on maybe a Productivity Tuesday to talk about how this specifically, like the habits that you have, can help you get more work done. But honestly, dude, I don't want to talk about work today because it's Sunday, and just hinting about it kind of stresses me out. So maybe I'll spend my productivity time investment like doing some research on this Ashtanga yoga. Maybe look up some YouTube videos or something that we can link up in the show notes so that the audience can check it out. All right, so after you do this and then you go to work and you have a hard day, like what's the unwinding process? Like after you get done doing all your superstar SEO work and managing all the clients and managing all the employees, and you're like, all right, now the workday is over. Kris, how do you like let it all go?
I'll either go for dinner with friends or go drink some wine, read a book, go for a walk. I do like to spend a lot of time by myself, reflecting on things. So, a long walk, solitary confinement is very good for me.
So, are you an introvert by nature?
Not at all. I mean, I speak to lots of people all the time, and Friday, Saturday night when I go to a party or whatever, it's like blah 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 blah, and drink lots of beer and have a good old time. So, but on like a Sunday evening, I like to listen to a podcast, something like Hardcore History that goes on forever. It's like 3-hour episodes.
Right.
And you go for a 3-hour walk, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I was just asking because, there's different like spectrums. They're just different scales, and I know some people who classify themselves as introverts, meaning that they recharge their battery through alone time, right? They kind of get their energy back, their social energy back through being alone. But then when they're at the party or when they're at work, they're the life of the party, or they're the most outgoing person at work. And it is kind of more for these friends, it's more of situational extroversion, I guess, where they're naturally an introvert, but they still love being that introvert in certain situations and stuff. So I just think it's very curious how different people kind of have their different styles and stuff.
Yeah, I think I was always very extrovert. Like back when I used to have a job, play around at work, and was always at the pub in the afternoon talking to people. But as I got a bit older, I think I've realized I really need alone time to contemplate what's going on and get in touch with myself and not be a total asshole. If I'm too busy doing stuff, and I can get a little intense.
Yeah, I feel you. I need that. I mean, I am an introvert, and on top of that, I have struggled with social anxiety stuff in the past, but still, like, as I'm recovering past that, and that's not as big a deal as it was like 15 years ago, I still need that alone time. And how I do that is like I go for long runs. So I've kind of talked about that on the podcast before, but I'll go for a long run. I'm currently training for a marathon that will take place in November of this year, and then I've got another one right after that in January of this year. And those really long runs, and I'm slow. Like I'm not an athlete by any means. Yeah. So I'm really, really slow, which means when you go on a 13-mile run or an 18-mile run, dude, I'm out there like all day. And it's brutal on my body, and I'm just physically like torn apart, and it's painful. And so people go, dude, why do you do that? Why do you put your knees through that? And it's the exact same thing that you said about the Ashtanga yoga, right? Is it allows me to, I don't have the energy when I'm running to think about all the negative stuff, right? I don't have the energy to think about work. I don't have the energy to stress about all the stressful things in my life or in my head. I have to literally let all that stuff roll off of me in piles of sweat so that I can just have enough energy to make the next step forward.
Totally focused on the moment and really present in your action. It's awesome. I used to be a runner myself.
Cool. Yeah, it also is a great opportunity for me to plug in my earbuds and either get caught up on podcasts. There's certain podcasts that I can listen to when running. I can't listen to any entrepreneurship ones. I can't listen to any business ones or tech ones because honestly, those things are so interesting. Like I'll find myself being in that moment and thinking about that stuff, and then I kind of get in that work mindset again, which is like a more stressful energy. Yeah,
From for a little while. Yeah.
exactly. So I have to go to. I usually have to go to something funny, comedy, or something like that. Or mostly, I'll go to books on tape, right? Audiobooks from Audible. And I'll listen to like action adventure series like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones and stuff like that, where, you know what, if I miss a chapter or two because I'm zoned out and I'm not thinking, it's no big deal.
Yeah. I always found a bit of Van Halen to do the job.
Yeah, there you go. Cool, man. Well, let's talk about your traveling. So, Siberia, what was that like?
Cold, very cold. But not so. Like I traveled across Russia by myself previously, and I did really enjoy that because I was, just traveling and exploring places. But later, I fell in love with a girl and moved to Yekaterinburg in Siberia, and it was pretty lonely as I didn't speak very much Russian at the time, and they're just so not used to foreigners there because there's no one foreign, and it's like they couldn't really understand that I didn't speak Russian. They looked at me like I was like some sort of idiot. It's like, dude, come on, I'm trying. Mm-hmm. So it was very isolating, and yeah, I didn't like that so much. But I later moved to St. Petersburg, which is in European Russia, and yeah, there's lots of Europeans there, and they're used to foreigners, and so it's a much more cosmopolitan place, and I really loved it there.
So I'm actually from rural areas in Texas and Oklahoma, and I can resonate with the fact that there are some people out there. I mean, where I grew up, if somebody came in and they had a foreign accent, or somebody came in and they were, they really, really struggled with English not as their primary language, people would, honestly, people were very... they were jerks. Let me just say that they were complete jerks, and I might have acted like a jerk when I was a teenager or when I was a kid because I didn't know any better. But I have so much respect for people who get outside of their comfort zone now. People who travel the world, people who are trying to learn different languages. I mean, you take anybody from Siberia that knows just one or two phrases of English, and they know more English than I know Russian or Siberian or whatever. I mean,
I'm from the same boat. I'm from rural Australia, and where there's no one but white Australians. I didn't know that there was other people in the world when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but you know what? Now as adults, we get to choose our own path, and we get to make decisions about what we want to do. Dude, I am so. Just in awe of the fact that you're like, okay, I'm going to pack it up. I'm going to move from Australia. I'm going to go to Siberia or go to Russia and just travel across the entire country. That's a big freaking country. We talked about the U.S. being a big country. Russia's a big dang country too.
Yeah. It's a whole lot bigger. It's got 10 time zones.
Wow.
Yeah. So I started off slow, right? I finished university. I moved to London. I lived there for 3 years whilst exploring Europe. And then it was after that I moved to Russia. So I was already a bit affair with European culture.
So what prompted that? What made you say, you know what, I just want to go, first of all, leave your hometown. And second of all, now that I'm in Europe, I'm going to go to Russia, and then I'm going to travel across Russia, and then I'm going to move to another place. What do you think is the root of all of this, this travel bug that you got caught with?
So, I was a country boy. Studied software engineering and moved to Brisbane, which I was like, wow, this is like the biggest city in the whole world. Mm-hmm. And there was this guy I worked with who was from London, and he just kept telling me about London, and I was like, wow, that place sounds amazing. And I just broke up with my girlfriend that I'd been with forever, all through university. I went, screw this, I'm out of here, and packed my bags and went to London. And when the whole world opened up, I was just amazed. It was brilliant. And just, step by step, I met people that encouraged me to do different things. I fell in love with a Russian woman she's so brave. Like she'd hitchhiked from St. Petersburg to London when she was 17, and she didn't even speak English at the time. She'd been living in London for years by the time I met her, so she spoke fluently. But she really taught me that don't be afraid of doing anything. Just Get off your ass and do it if you want to do it.
Man, that's such a great lesson to learn. And if you were raised in a culture that was just that fear was just pervasive, right? At least around here, right? You watch the news, you turn on the 10 o'clock news, and it's just like, hey, this person got murdered, this person got murdered, this person got raped, this person got kidnapped, and it's just so much negativity just in your own neighborhood, right? Not to mention the rest of the world.
Every country in the world. Like, in the Philippines, if you ask pretty much any Filipino, because they're a very island race, right? So they're like all of the different islands, they speak different languages and have different cultures. And you ask any Filipino about another island or another city, and they'll go, "Oh, it's so dangerous. Don't go there." No matter which one it is, and they're not. It's just they're kind of taught to be scared of the other ones. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, you don't have any fear, right? Because you're a big tough dude, right? Yeah,
well, a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. But for other folks, so like your girlfriend, fiance, whatever she is now, the Russian lady that you fell in love with, she's, as a 17-year-old girl, hitchhiking, right, across multiple countries. Was she afraid at the time, and would she do the same thing now, do you think?
I mean, we're not together anymore, but yeah, she's been to way more countries than me, and she's got a shitty passport, like she has to really work to get anywhere, and she never lets it stop her. And so she's no way she's scared of anything, and she's not a big tough guy, and well, neither am I.
Yeah, computer programmer. I got it. Cool, man. Well, I'll tell you what, let's take a break. We're going to take a break to thank the sponsors. When we come back, I want to ask you about maybe the best things to do in all these countries. You can give the audience and give me like a highlight reel of what we need to see across the world and what we need to experience while we're there. But first, we'll take a quick break and thank the sponsors. Okay, we're back with Kris Reid. Kris is a computer geek, SEO superstar. He's based currently in the Philippines and Cambodia, but this dude has been literally all over the world. Born in Australia, worked in England, backpacked across Russia, and just so many other places that I'm jealous. I'm honestly jealous, but I know that's the result of that. The reason of that is because our priorities in the past have been different, but now my priorities are starting to get aligned with, dude, I want what Kris is having. Like, I'll have the lifestyle that he has chosen a while back, and I want to learn from you, dude, of all these amazing places. So we're actually, my family's going on a cruise, a transatlantic cruise next year. So it's going to be May of next year, and we're trying to plan it well far in advance so that we can save money and stuff like that. But we will be going from here, the U.S., we'll be touching in, Ponta Delgada in the Azores, and then we'll hit England, a couple of stops, and then, there's Copenhagen and St. Petersburg and another
St.
place.
Petersburg is
I can't think of where else.
Such a great
we're going.
city.
So maybe you could give us the highlight reel of the places that you've been and where we need to visit when we're there.
What I recommend with any country you go to is get off the beaten track. I mean, sure, going to see the Eiffel Tower is awesome, but going to drink in a cafe with some French people and, pretending you're Parisian is way more fun. Smoking cigars and drinking cognac in a back alley in St. Petersburg is just awesome. I took the Trans-Siberian right across Russia. That's the train that goes right through the country. I got it all the way to Hong Kong, actually, all the way down through China as well. But, in this place called Irkutsk, which is near Lake Baikal, which is the world's biggest lake. Your Great Lakes are very wide. Baikal is like super deep. It's not nearly as expansive, but it's much deeper. It's got something like a fifth of the world's unfrozen fresh water. It's crazy.
Wow.
And the town that's near there, Irkutsk, I was drinking with some police officers, and they took me to this sauna, the abanya as they're called, and it was just an amazing day, And back then, I really only knew about how to order a train ticket, so I was all guesswork of what's going on.
And if you don't speak the language, how do you have the trust, right? That these people, right? I guess I would have more trust for police officers in any country than anybody else. But how do you
when you're with a bunch of drunken Russian police officers? I don't know that they're the people to trust.
That's awesome. But they showed you like the actual, like how the locals live and what the locals are doing and the real culture.
And that's really experience, right? Like I hate the expression that people have, like, oh, I did that. Like I've done that country. I've done Cambodia. How can you do a country? It's like, it's finished. I mean, I've been living in Cambodia and the Philippines for about 4 years, and there's no way that I'd say that I've done this country. There's still plenty to see and experience, and sure, I understand the culture a bit. I go to lots of weddings and unfortunately funerals, and get to live with Cambodians. So I get a good experience of it, but I'm not Cambodian.
Yeah, that's true. I can even attest to living in a place or being born in a place, Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, right? I don't consider myself having done any of those states, and some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller, but I think it's more of just what are you doing while you're there? How are you experiencing it? And even within a small culture, whether it be a country or a state within a country, right? There are so many different little towns and different places. There's the cities, and inside the cities, there's lots of different things. There's the agricultural places, and within those, there's different things, and to explore all of it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort, and takes a lot of just wanting to get out of your normal routine.
Like I've been to the US a bit, and like if you're there with a local, like I was lucky enough to have a New Yorker show me around New York, and you're going to bars and parties and hanging out with New Yorkers and pretending you're a local, and it's a great way to see the city. We didn't go and see the Statue of Liberty, but that's not really New York, is it?
Right. That's more of the icon of New York, right? That represents New York on a postage stamp or on a postcard. But the real culture is the people who work there, the people who live there, the people who it's just part of their everyday life.
Exactly. I think like go and get a happy snap with the Statue of Liberty is the kind of expression of I've done New York.
Yeah, I haven't even been there yet, right? So I know when I go to New York that I will absolutely get that photo because I have to, right? For family and for myself, I have to get that. But I still like the idea of, not just going and doing the highlight tourist tour, but really spending time, like you said, in the back alleys with the locals, going to their favorite pubs, their favorite restaurants. Just to their houses and hang out with people, as they're after work and stuff like that. It just sounds amazing.
And language isn't a showstopper. Like I've been to plenty of countries and I don't speak their language and they mightn't speak ours. And luckily enough, a lot of people do speak English around the world, or at least a few words. But you can, everyone wants the same things. Everyone needs to eat. And everyone wants something good to drink, and you know how to make each other happy, and it just works.
That's hilarious. So how many languages do you know just a few phrases in?
Well, I speak pretty good Russian now.
Nice.
But living in Europe, I lived in Brussels, which is like the capital of Europe, and so you pick up a fair bit, a bit of French, bit of German, bit of Italian, bit of Spanish, but certainly not anywhere that I'd say I speak them, but it's nice when you're in someone's country to try and speak a bit. I speak a bit of Khmer, a Cambodian language, and a bit of Filipino, but Bisaya, which is in the south. But I'm only really quite fluent in Russian.
Man, it sounds like you're almost the C-3PO of all my friends. You speak more languages than anybody I think I've ever met.
You wait till you spend some time in Europe. Like if you don't speak 3 or 4 languages fluent, everyone will look at you weird, you know?
Yeah, well, they'll look at me weird anyway for a lot of reasons outside of what language I speak, but that's another point. Tell you what, Kris, before we go, I want to let you get back to your being unplugged here this Sunday. But before we do you have any final words of wisdom for our audience? And then share the best way that we can connect with you when we're traveling all over the world or sitting at our computer, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah, my only real wisdom, Chad, is really kind of be present in your life. You know, don't be wishing your days away. Like, it just makes me so sad when you see people like on Facebook or whatever. They're like, "Oh, I wish it was Friday," or "It's hump day." Great. It's like you're wishing your life away. Like, make the most of every day. Enjoy it. Get up like it's got purpose, and live whatever life you want to do. But just do it to the utmost and enjoy it.
That's awesome. And where can we connect with you?
Yeah, so if you need any SEO or digital marketing help, or you want to come to Cambodia or the Philippines, you can reach me on Twitter at the coolest guy in SEO, or you can contact me directly. It's Kris with a K, K-R-I-S, at Ardor SEO, A-R-D-O-R SEO.com.
Kris, thank you so much for joining me on Hello Tech Pros today. I honestly struggle with getting guests who want to come on the show talk about being unplugged. It's like so many tech pros out there. They want to talk about entrepreneurship and technology and some motivation, right? And a few on people and relationships and communication. But it's like pulling teeth to get anybody to talk about being unplugged. So I've honestly thought about, maybe I just dropped this episode, or maybe I shifted around to something else. But when I actually do have a guest, an amazing guest like yourself, come on and talk to me about, just priorities, get your life straight. To me, that is so much more important, honestly, than some of the other stuff about productivity and stuff. Because if we're not, like you said, if we're not present in our own lives, if we're only focused on the grind and how do I get as much things as I can done so that then on Friday I can finally relax or finally do something else besides work, that's not the life I want to live anymore. I have lived that life for many, many years, but now I want to focus on what's important and what is valuable, and whether that's family or health or travel or just being present. I love it. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate that.
Cheers, Chad. It's been a real pleasure.
Awesome. Tech Pros, I got no more words to say. I always have words to say here at the end, but I think Kris said it perfectly. I'm Chad Bostic. Until next time, take care.